By utilizing a holistic, multi-level approach, Extension family and community health programs encourage health and well-being for everyone. Addressing values, concerns, and needs with reliable science-based information, Extension programs help people lead healthier lives. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make their lives better.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KCCZ LP Conroe and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour. I'm Rick Schissler. I'm your host. I'm also the founder of OneBestConsult.com. And today, as typical, we are broadcasting live from the studios of Lone Star Community Radio, which is located right here in downtown Conroe, Montgomery County, Texas. Appreciate all our local listeners, and I really want to thank the folks that live outside the area. Got a lot of listeners even outside the state of Texas, even overseas. So we appreciate all of you coming to share your ideas and be part of a group, because we're definitely a family here. We've got a group. We've located ourselves in Conroe, Texas, which just happens to be one of the fastest growing cities in the country. It's for the last several years has switched from 1 to 2 and back to 1. So there's lots of business activity, a lot of new businesses, a lot of great things going on here. And we try to share some of the information and knowledge that we pick up being in such a hot growth area with you and being part of it. So I encourage you, join our community, go to our website. That's OneBestConsult.com. That's the number 1. And join us and get in the loop and also contribute. It's very important. I'm going to start today's program with what I call a quick thought. It's entitled is How is Hidden Inflation Affecting Your Business? Now, first of all, hidden inflation, that's inflation that you really don't realize is there, but it's there. Right? It kind of reminds me of this recession we talk about every few weeks. It's rolling, it's here, it's there, it's hiding, whatever. Well, hidden inflation is the kind of inflation that's going on in other industries and other businesses. But eventually, it, if you will, trickles down, it impacts your business directly, but perhaps most importantly, indirectly. So how is it affecting your business? Are you aware of the effect on your business? Well, the first place you're going to see it is the cost of the products and services that you use in your business. You know, food has been one of the main areas that at least the press is zeroed in on. Food costs primarily on a retail basis, but the cost of food goes up 4 or 5% month on month, year to year. Every month, it seems like. Previous year, same month, we're up 4 or 5%. So that's something you need to be aware of if you're not already. You probably have noticed it because you get the invoice, you got to pay the bill, and you say, you know, what's going on? But you need to not only be aware of it, you got to decide what is important about that to you. What do you need to do? What action, if any, do you need to take? Well, before you do that, I encourage you to look at the wage structure out there and what's happening with inflation of wages. My question is, how much inflation is left in our wage structure out there? What we're having to pay, what others are paying. Are you aware of what the quote-unquote prevailing wage, and I'm not talking about a prevailing wage from a government point of view. I'm talking about what people get paid to do a similar job that you offer in another place, say within 50 miles of where you are. Keep track of those kind of things. Be aware with the competition, direct or indirect competition for labor is paying people, benefits and all, because you're going to have to be competitive to get people, and then in many cases to keep people. And last but not least, what's the action? It's all about your prices, okay? And it can be about your offering, what you offer. You know, I've seen where people in the food industry, restaurant industry, have offered different kinds of meals that were less expensive to buy the ingredients and so on and so forth, because they'd reached a price point in their restaurant that they felt like they couldn't go beyond or they would lose customers. So there is some of that. But the main thing is pricing of the products and services you offer. You've got to be fair and offer value. That, to me, is every business. The customer has to perceive that you're being fair and that you offer value. But you also need, obviously, to charge enough to cover your cost. And unfortunately, there are so many businesses out there, and many don't even recognize it, at least initially, that they're not charging enough to cover their bills. So I was listening to a business story last night, and it happened to be one of my sons called me to wish me a happy Father's Day, and he's telling me about a deal he's working on, in which he does workouts and things like that. They were bleeding over $1 million a month, and they didn't know what to do about it. And now they're going out of business. So make sure that your pricing is up to cover cost and hopefully give you a profit so that you consistently can meet your numbers and stay in business. So pay attention to those numbers and be aware of hidden inflation. The Weekly Business Hour is where Montgomery County and businesses now throughout the world come to talk about the latest in business news, ideas to improve your business, and to be part of conversations that we hope can make a real difference in your own business. I want to remind you that the show is broadcast live, and you can watch as well as listen by simply going to YouTube or Facebook, the Weekly Business Hour page, and click on it, and you can watch us as well as listen to us. And a reminder, we appreciate your input. Please send me emails. Let me know what you like about the show, what you don't like. And most importantly, if you have a business issue, a challenge that you'd love to get some feedback, send it to me. We read some of them on the air in our mailbag piece, but others I respond to. You will get a response. So please email us. It's real simple. Send it to Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. That's Rick at irlonestar.com. Well, now, as they would say in the days, let's get the show on the road. And I am so proud and pleased to introduce our business guest. We have a couple with us today, and everybody that's listened to the show for the past few years know I love that. Being in business with a spouse and all the things that can come from that, it's important. It's something else that needs to be addressed. But successfully done, as I've experienced, it can be a lot of fun, and it absolutely can be very profitable. There's no doubt about it. But today in the studio, we have Bibi and Ola Ajayi. Did I get it?
Close,
All right.
close, pretty close.
If you listen to the show, you know sometimes those last names get me. They're the owners of Nautical Bowls. This is a very interesting product they offer. We're going to kind of dig into that. But to get started today, you guys have a great business story. Share with our listeners how did you decide to get in business for yourselves?
You want me to go?
Sure, you could go. You could get started.
All
I'll
right.
help you out.
All right. Well, thank you, first of all, Rick, for just having us here. This is such an honor and a privilege. But yeah, so our business story really is, I think we're really business entrepreneurs at heart. And this stems from our, parents' legacies as well. So my father was a pharmacist, owned his own pharmacy back in Nigeria. It's where we originally are from. And literally grew up in the stores, seeing the impact that he had on the community. So people coming through to get recommendations, medication, all of that from him, and just seeing how they depended on him. And so I think for us, we just always longed for that ability to make an impact on our community as well, and just build that family type, feel with the people that we live with, right, that we do life with. And so specifically for Nautical Bowls, we knew we wanted to invest in a franchise. So we had been looking for probably about a year. And in fact, we said, hey, we were not going to do restaurant business or food because I'm not much of a cook. I can cook. I do a good job, but I'm not crazy about it. the whole process, right? And so we were like, oh, no restaurant, nothing like that. But I have a background in pharmacy, but I also have a background in functional nutrition. And one of the things that I do with my clients is I'm always sharing about nutrition and, the right foods to eat. And hey, let's not do medication until we've tried to heal our bodies naturally, right? With food and nutrition, because our bodies are intelligent. They're intuitively intelligent. And God's created us with the ability to heal, right? Naturally. And so when this came along, when we found Nautical Bowls, it was like a no-brainer, because what we're talking about here is food that is just all natural, organic, right? It's gluten-free, dairy-free. We know that there's a lot of people who have a lot of sensitivities to certain types of foods, allergens right now. And so it just was like, this is totally aligned with us, right? And we both always like try to promote. I mean, we're not 100% perfect with our healthy eating, but we always promote, and try to eat healthy as much as possible. Then we have little kids who, we're always trying to keep them away from the junk food, right? And so this was just a no-brainer for us, because it's like, this is a healthy option that we need personally, but that we can also offer our community, because we know a lot of people also have that need. So
Essentially, yep. Yeah, it hit all the marks for us, like Bibi said, as far as, we're parents, we have young children. My first is 10, my youngest is 5. We always felt guilty whenever we binged on just fast food, just because it wasn't healthy. We didn't grow up in this country. We grew up in Nigeria, so a lot of more natural type food that, we were used to. And so we always thought about it like, okay, our kids are growing up in this country, and of course, they're Americans. Just making sure that they have something healthy, something really natural, an alternative to all of the not so great food out there. Bringing that to our community was super important for us, because we thought, hey, if we could benefit from this, definitely our community could as well. So that's really what brought us here in this business journey. It's been an interesting journey. We're first time, I guess, business owners, but it's been an interesting journey so far.
Well, let me ask you, kind of back up a second. Something when I talk to people who own franchises, and we have people from time to time on the show, trying to understand why they chose a franchise versus, say, starting something themselves. What was your reasoning for looking for a franchise? Because you spent, I think you said, about a year looking. So versus, say, just coming with an idea and opening up with that.
So, I mean, we got in the franchise space mainly because, as Bibi said, we have full-time jobs, right? Bibi is a pharmacist. I'm a consultant. We knew we wanted to do something outside of that, ultimately transition to full business ownership and having that drive everything else. And so we thought the easiest route to go was to actually jump on the franchising model, because that is essentially a template that we could, just run. They gave us a playbook, and we can take that playbook and make it ours and run with it. We felt it was an easier route to getting into the business world, and that's why we went with the franchise option. Obviously, with this particular, Bibi mentioned, hey, we didn't want to do anything with the restaurants. But when we discovered Nautical Bowls, it just hit all the marks for us. And we decided that, this is the right one to go for. So, it was mainly that.
Well, you hit all the marks with me, if you will, when you mentioned about why franchising. It's not unusual that a franchise choice is made by someone who comes from corporate world. In other words, they've not had that hands-on experience. Like I grew up in a family business, so it was natural for me. I saw all the things happening and what was right and what was wrong, what worked, didn't work, and I was right there at the table from a very young age. So yes, that seems to me to be one of the sweet spots for franchises, to find people who want to be their own boss, they want additional income, whatever the main drivers are.
Right.
You opened your first location, you told me, 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago, yep.
Okay, and where are you located, just so our listeners who are local
Yeah, we're on 1488, and I guess the major landmark there is that Del Webb 55 plus community. We're really literally in front of it. There's a shopping strip there, and across the street is an Escape Theater, movie theater. And that's what most people kind of are familiar with.
Yeah, but specifically the address is 4849 FM 1488, and that could be the Woodlands, it could be Magnolia. We're just right on the border of the
Right.
Woodlands, Magnolia. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of businesses along there that use the Woodlands because you are on the edge of it.
exactly. Yeah,
It's interesting being someone whose background is really in real estate and development, a lot of shopping centers, but the visibility there, in fact, along that area, which I'm somewhat familiar with, is that there's lots of shopping centers, lots of tenants. How do you not get lost as far as visibility?
That's a good question, because there's, like you said, there's a lot of activity going on there, but at the same time, it's an opportunity because there's a lot of activity going there. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, if you will. The important thing is to really separate ourselves. There's not a lot of healthy options in our community. So it's really going out to the community and introducing ourselves to the community, whether it's through, the sports activities with high schools or it's gyms, it's places like that we really go out to try to network and introduce our concept, introduce our brand to the community. That's really the way that we have. I mean, we're only 3 weeks old, but that's the way that we know that will work for us long term in terms of our strategy. Yep.
Well, it sounds like you got a market plan to get a marketing plan. And believe it or not, we're to the end of our first segment, so we're going to take a break. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you, please stay with us. We're going to talk about marketing, which is one of my favorite topics, and what Bibi and Ola do to market their business. I think we got a little bit of an introduction there, so stay with us, and we'll be right back with you.
Remember to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on your computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. Lone Star Community Radio broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Vell Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit, began in 2014 with a mission to strengthen the future of veterans through leadership and entrepreneurship training. We've invested over 1,400 hours of training in our veterans while connecting them with community entrepreneurs and leaders. Our mission is to continue investing in our veterans who have given so much for our country. Please join us in our mission by visiting vellinstitute.org. That's VELinstitute.org.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You've been listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and we've been having, I think, a great business conversation with Bibi and Ola, and they're the proud owners of a Nautical Bowls franchise, which is special healthy food, and we've been talking about it a little bit. But before we continue that conversation, I want to remind you again, please drop your emails to us. Comments on the show, criticisms, as long as they're constructive, are appreciated. But most importantly, send us your business challenge, your business ideas. We're going to talk about one today, in fact, that I received a couple weeks ago. So let us know. We try to help. You will get a response. So please send it to me, Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. That's Rick at irlonestar.com. Okay, Bibi and Ola, we were talking, kind of dipped our toe into the marketing. And again, we recognize and appreciate you're 3 weeks in, but when you start a business, one of the things you got to have, I believe, is a marketing plan or an idea of where you need to market. Because typically marketing starts before you open the door, right?
Yep.
So tell us, who is your target customer for your products?
You want to take that, Bibi?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to be honest, our product is great for everyone. However, we've found obviously those who are more motivated, right, are people who are interested in living an active lifestyle. And so a lot of our guests, is what we call them, are, gym rats, for lack of a better word. So people who love to spend time at the gym. A lot of our products, can be good for just refueling after a workout, and even before a workout, like getting that energy that you need without the crash, right? Because like Ola said earlier, the ingredients are packed full of antioxidants, packed full of vitamins and essential, nutrients that are needed to really fuel and supercharge you. So yes, and most people will say, oh, it tastes like ice cream because of the consistency and the way we have them. So it tastes like a treat, but it's an actual meal that really supercharges your body, right? It's the real nutrients that our bodies were made to break down and to process, right? That our cells really need to work efficiently. So people who work out a lot, but even just really little kids, a lot of little kids now, have food sensitivities to gluten, to dairy, right? So we have a lot of moms who are like, oh, this is, the perfect thing. My child has not been able to have a treat because they're allergic to all of this stuff. And this tastes like ice cream, even though, once again, what we've been trying to do is educate people and say, it is not ice cream, it's an actual meal. A guy walked into the store the other day and he was like, oh, I just had ice cream across the street. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Well, then you can have a real meal now, because this is what it is. It's nutritious and it fuels your body.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about kids, right? I mean, you can think of kids like they're nonstop. And so I mean, we have kids of our own, so I know that they're nonstop. Refueling with our bowls, perfect for kids, young kids. Anyone who is active really can benefit from our bowls. So mostly we're looking at athletes and those type of people who are very active and need something to pick them up once they're done with their routine.
Yeah, it makes sense. You find folks that have the mindset that they're looking for opportunities, looking for options,
Absolutely.
And how do you reach those people?
Reaching those people really is around going to where they hang out. It's really about going to where they hang out. So going to, whether it's lacrosse games or soccer games or football fields, it's really us, boots on the ground, going and introducing ourselves to those people. Otherwise, they wouldn't. I mean, especially where they congregate, right? Because we know at soccer fields or lacrosse fields, there's tons of them. At gyms, there's tons of them. Gymnastics places, there's tons of them. So it's actually us going out to those kind of places, forming some type of partnerships with those lacrosse places, or it's gymnastics places, or it's football clubs and things like that. That's the best way to reach out to them, or to reach them, really.
That is really interesting, because your market is really defined. Unlike many businesses, we sell our products to a vast array, and unfortunately, I find many of the folks that own or run those businesses don't take time to really understand who their customer is. Therefore, what they're offering is not well defined, and business ultimately begins to slide. That's my experience. Sounds like you've got a real handle on that. What are some of the challenges, though, that you faced in general when you started your business, from the time you made a decision to go with the franchise till when you opened the front door, or even after that, since it's been such a short time?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, really, one of the biggest, I guess, challenges that we face right now is just educating people about healthy choices when it comes to meals. Yes, COVID happened. People are a little bit more conscious about some of those things, but it's really going out with the products that we have, getting people to understand, one, the differences between our products and dessert. Our product is a full meal. It's not just ice cream that you have after a meal. So it's little things like that make the difference. And I think that has been one of the big challenges, really, just educating people about what we offer, what our product is, because I mean, the franchise is from Minnesota. They're based up in Minnesota. They're well known up there. We're the third location in Texas. We're the first in the Houston area. And so it's a lot of education, and we constantly have to educate people that walk through our doors. We've had people walk through our doors asking if we're a seafood place, for example. So it's things like that we really need to hone in on and make sure that people really understand our value proposition, what we bring to the table. Would you say there's other things?
Yeah, no. So another thing I wanted to add was, obviously when we first thought about it, it was just Ola and I. And so growing, and adding on to the team. So we have Caleb as our captain, general manager. And then now we have about 18 deckhands, which are, the kids who pretty much work, the staff at the store, which are phenomenal. We're just so blessed to have top grade kids. So a lot of our kids are actually athletes. So they're on the soccer teams at the Woodlands High School and just other schools. And they just have a lot of great work ethic. So we've been blessed to be surrounded by those kind of kids. But yeah, that was a little challenging, where it's just Ola and I having conversations, in bed in the morning, and then, saying, hey, these are the things that we need to get done. And then now communicating with a larger group of people, so just learning the nuances of that. So I wouldn't say it's a huge challenge. It's just something, a learning curve for something we've had to learn how to do more effectively. But we're just honored to be able to lead such a team and just empower young adults in that way. That's part of one of the things that, got us interested in this particular franchise as well is, a lot of people that we work with are those young kids, and we love to empower them, give them a voice, and just kind of encourage them to be who they want to be.
Yeah, so I'll add on to that, to Bibi's point about empowering the younger people. So both of us have a passion for that. I, in my regular 9 to 5, I do a lot of coaching. I help organizations with their business process, but all of that is really about life skills, empowering my coworkers and leaders and things like that with skills on running teams and making processes a little bit more efficient. It's things like that I help my organizations with. And so translating that into the younger people is something that we're passionate about. So what we tell our people when we interview them is, look, if you come into our store and the only thing you're able to do is make a bowl after 3 months with us, we have failed you, because we want you to be able to contribute to your society as leaders. We want to be able to develop you, to challenge you to reach your own goals, because we understand that our industry is quite transitional. Most of our staff are first time, that's the first job. So we want to, as much as possible, impart on them to take them to the next place where they are going to spend a lot more time, but whatever they learn with us propels them into the future, to becoming whatever it is they decide to become in the future. So that's one thing that we're really, really passionate about.
Well, I must at this point stop for a moment and give you my congratulations that you were able to recruit 18 able-bodied individuals plus your general manager, because as we all know, particularly in this area, Montgomery County, it's hard to find good people, period, for any kind of job. Yes. Because of the labor shortage, whatever,
right,
which is also one of those mysteries in our economy right now as well that we talk about. So congratulations on, obviously, your business. Labor is a big cost. So
100%.
It's a very important part of it as well. Well, one of the things that you pointed out, and Bibi, when we met, I believe, at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, addressed, was that you have a plan to support the community and other small businesses, which does that sort of segue out of what you're doing for the people that work for you and trying to support their goals, their dreams? What is it that you're offering as you grow your business to do for the community and for other small businesses?
Yeah, so I mean, along those lines, really, we have just in the past, and I think this business has given us an opportunity really to be able to do that now. We've always wanted to support a lot of nonprofit organizations that we respect and admire in our community. And so one of the initiatives that we have is that on a monthly basis, we would partner with them, whether it's through like fundraisers, whether it's through just, whatever we're selling in the store. actually giving a portion of that, to support these organizations. And so we're going to select one every month that we are collaborating with in one form or the other, however best, it works out, to just support them. And even sponsorship opportunities, we're looking forward to doing that for a lot of like the young adult, not young adult, but the young kids and their sport teams and things like that. So we welcome just any kind of collaboration opportunities that are obviously aligned with, with us and what we do. But yeah, that's one of the ways that we definitely want to support our community and also businesses. And we've started some of those collaborating with businesses around us as well, just doing events together and things like that. So, yeah.
Well, it's funny, but that's one of the, because I do business consulting, small business consulting, and that's one of the things that I encourage the business owners and managers that I work with as you build a new business to connect with your community and find something not only that you as an owner might be passionate about, but also that you can get your people that are working for you involved, and what a positive impact that has not only on the community but on your business and your ability to do that. Well, let me ask you, somebody approaches you, gets to know you, and wants say, y'all have done such a beautiful job. You started a business. You appear to be very successful. You're growing it. I think I'm going to go start a business. Now, what piece of advice would you give me about starting a business, reflecting on your own experiences?
I can start.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Well, so I think for me, the biggest thing, and this is a question I keep getting literally every week, someone's asking me, like, what is it about this? And I say, well, find something that you are passionate about, that you're aligned with, that's aligned with your values, aligned with who you are, because then it doesn't feel too much like work, like it feels like this is me, So someone was asking me the other day, like, so how does it feel? This is just 3 weeks in, and I'm like, yes, we're busy, we're working, we're doing things, but it doesn't feel like that, like, stress or like I'm striving. It feels like I'm just living, essentially. And I would say the same for Ola. And I even feel more so like I told him the other day, he was at the store. He said, hey, I'm going to be at the store I'm just going to stop by for an hour, just check on things. 5 hours later, I'm like, husband, where are you? And he was enjoying it. He loved being there, connecting with the people, guests coming in. And I'm like, so this is even unearthing like passions that we have that we didn't even know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would say that even for him, I could see that in him. And it's just beautiful to see that even your spouse evolve and just kind of grow into like and just reveal some gifts that you didn't even know that they had, So yeah, that's been beautiful.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree as far as doing something that you're aligned with. Otherwise, it feels like a grind, and you have to wake up and open the doors and do the cleanup and all of that. But if you find something you're passionate about, is aligned with how you live, I think it makes it 100% easier than not. And also just the people that you work with. As you select your team, you need to be really selective. You need to understand exactly what you're expecting from the team, and so that way everybody is on the same page, because when we're not all on the same page, then there's a lot of stuff that could just go wrong. So yes, it's aligning with what you want to do, being selective with your team as well. Those are some of the things that I would advise anyone who's starting a business to make sure they have on the top of their list.
It's interesting that you offer that piece of advice. I happen to 100% agree with you, and I even extend it further. I talk about picking a business not only passionate about, but one that fits your personality. I mean, if you're a people person, you got a business where you're dealing with people. Some of us aren't people person, but that's fine. And it doesn't mean you can't be in business, but you need to select a different business. But so many times it's that bright bulb, that idea that just looks, hey, this is it, particularly in franchising. Oh, I know that I can, get all
Make
these numbers and I can do that. But they don't reflect, and as I call it, look in the mirror and to say, does this really fit me and or my family?
Yes.
Which obviously is another component of being in business for yourself that so many, I've found, unfortunately, so many business owners overlook. What's the impact on my family? What's the risk I'm taking and its impact on my family? And these are the kind of things I try to talk to people about up front, just to try to assure it. But so many businesses, in my opinion, a vast majority, don't consider what you've, not only the passion, they like the new bright idea, right? But the character and what it fits with them, their personality, and their families.
Yeah, and the truth, Rick, is, I mean, we have an idea. We knew what we wanted to get into, but even as we've opened our doors for 3 weeks, we're learning as we go, right? So you mentioned impact on the family and trying to balance, hey, because we have young kids, trying to balance that with our availability at the store, our availability to our staff, and things like that. We're learning as we go, to be fair. But the important thing, though, is we're excited about it, we're passionate about it, and it doesn't feel like a drag. From that perspective, I think whatever we learn, we're just going to incorporate our learnings, put it into our process, improve on our process, and keep it going that way.
Final question. 3 to 5 years from now, we have you back on the show. Where are you going to be? Where do you see yourself, the business? Where's it going to be? Where are you going to be with the business?
One of the things that we talked about as we started the business together was we wanted to bring healthy fast food to the North Houston area. So Conroe, the Woodlands, Magnolia, Montgomery County, Spring, Tomball. So the short answer is, in 3 to 5 years, we want to have a footprint in all of these places. Not only just a footprint in all of these places, building a community within these places that we mentioned. That's really our target, and we're quite excited about it. It's an uphill target, but we're excited about it. The more we get into this particular, I guess, prototype or test that we have, we're going to learn. We're very open to learning, and we're going to refine what we learned, put it into our process, and use that to scale to these places that I mentioned. But that would be our target, for us to be a name that people in our community recognize when it comes to wholesome, fast, healthy food.
Multiple locations.
100%.
That's a good dream. I've never ceased to be amazed, and it's kind of off the subject, but some of these franchises, food places, restaurant, where people own 100 of them or 50. I just can't get my arms around that, trying to manage something of that size. Well, the best of luck to you. And again, thank both of you so much for taking time to come in and share your story, share your dream, so that others hopefully can be encouraged and learn. And I'd love to have you back in a year or two and get an update and share some that new wisdom that you've been able to come across and experience. If folks want to get in touch with you, obviously I would like you to repeat the address, but if any other way that if they want to reach out, website or whatnot, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so we have an email. So it's thewoodlands68 at nauticalbowls.com. So that's one of the fastest ways to reach us. But obviously on social media, we want you to follow us, and you can send us a DM there, like if you're just looking to interact. And of course, we'll reach out to you as soon as possible. We're pretty responsive with connecting with our folks. But yeah,
what's our handle?
On Instagram and Facebook, it's at Nautical Bowls, the Woodlands specifically. So you want to add that in there for sure. But yeah, and then we also have a phone number that, on the site, so you can, directly reach us if you need to call us.
What's the website address now?
The website for the general franchise is www.nauticalbowls.com.
Okay.
And so we have a general website for the entire franchise.
But that tells me about the food and the experience.
Absolutely.
Like you say, you've got an admirable, challenging task educating people on a new food source. Which is exciting, very interesting. I've looked at the website, and I think I encourage all the listeners of this program, whether you're listening live today or listening to the podcast video cast in the future, check this out. Very, very interesting. You live in the area, I would absolutely take the time to go by and see these folks. So again, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our bottom of the hour break. We come back. I've got my one best consult tip of the week. It's entitled, Why Do Small Businesses Continue to Fail? Now, there's been a lot written about it, lots of seminars, but I've got a little different take on it, and I hope to share it with you, and hopefully it benefits you. And remind you, before we go to break, a repeat performance of this show in the podcast videocast will be available on Wednesday of this week across social media. You can go to Facebook, you can go to YouTube, you can go to the station website at irlonestar.com /the weekly business hour TWBH, and you can listen to the program and share it. Please share it with people you think might benefit. So stay with us, please, and we'll be right back with you.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Hey y'all, it's DJ Mike from Dance Time in Texas. Join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as I count down the top 10 Texas Red Dirt songs that are packing the dance floor. I'll be featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
What is homelessness? Have you seen parents struggle to find a job without having transportation or childcare? What about the children sleeping in cars with nothing to eat? Families shouldn't have to struggle to survive, and children should not be homeless. Family Promise of Montgomery County serves the needs of homeless families and their children. Learn about ways you can help and learn about partnership opportunities at www.familypromiseofmc.org or call our day center at 936-441-8778.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler. I'm your host, and I appreciate you joining us today. Hope you enjoyed our visit with Ola and Bibi. Wonderful new business, Nautical Bowls, a whole new food source that's available to us, franchise operation. And again, if you missed any of it or want to re-listen, that will be available on Wednesday. A copy of the program in podcast, videocast form will be posted on social media. So please check into the Weekly Business Hour and re-listen to our discussion and conversation with Ola and Bibi. Also, I want to make you aware that if you're here in the Montgomery County area particularly, you can sponsor this program. Lone Star Community Radio is a nonprofit community radio station, and so you will be a sponsor of the Weekly Business Hour specifically. I'll get that out, I apologize. And just send me an email, rick@irlonestar.com. I'll send you some information back. It's very simple. We appreciate the contribution, appreciate the sponsorship. The Weekly Business Hour, you as a sponsor, it is a great way to connect your business to the community. Well, one Best Consult tip of the week. In the amount of time that we have left, I want to take some time and go through this subject. Why do small businesses continue to fail? Now, that's kind of a proverbial question, but it is an important question because from my personal experience over the last 15, almost 20 years now, as I personally have worked with a number of small businesses. I've worked with startups, I've worked with well-established businesses, second and third generation owned businesses. There's some common factors that impact businesses, not just as startups. Of course, a very high failure rate when you start a business, But some of these things can eventually come into play even in well-established businesses, particularly when you change management or ownership or both. So I want to take a little bit of time to kind of go through this scenario and hopefully help everyone who's listening, if nothing else, to do a quick check on their existing business or to be aware of some of these things if they're starting a business, just like our guest this morning. 3 weeks they've been open. They're obviously a brand new business, and that's when you're particularly vulnerable to a lot of these issues. We all know when you start a business and when you run a business, whether it's 3 weeks old or it's 30 years old, you're faced as an owner with many, many different challenges. And if you've carefully prepared yourself and planned for things such as having a business plan, a marketing plan, and again, I'm not talking about something that's a college level plan. Those are wonderful, and I think when possible, they should be done. But at least have an idea reduced to writing of what you're trying to do in your business plan, where you're going with the business, and marketing particularly. And there are other areas that you can put plans together and put them all together, put them in a notebook, put them in the drawer, and forget about them. And that's the worst thing you can do. But a carefully prepared and planned business is a lot less likely to fail. The reason that most businesses fail, regardless of what stage of growth, where they are on the timeline of the business, is inadequate planning and or a flawed business model. Taking the last issue first, think about it. You pursue a business, you work a business, you start a business, you invest everything you have in that business. Yes, money, you borrow money, you family invest money, but you invest yourself and your family, if you have one, your direct family, your spouse, your children. Everybody's invested in that business, and the business model you're pursuing is just not going to work. Ultimately, that business is what they would say is designed to fail. So you got to make sure you have the right business model, that you're following a business model that checks out and that will lead you to success, the success you're looking for, and we'll get to that a little bit more later. But you've got to have some kind of planning. Yes, the same old challenges are around, such as limited resources, a lack of capital, operational costs that get out of bounds. You bust the projection on those. Difficulty in marketing and advertising, and then competition, and a difficulty in finding and training the employees you need to succeed. All of those issues are still there, and I'm not pushing those to the back of the line on this. But I think so much is missed when you don't put together an adequate plan and select a business model that will work, because it will help you solve the issues that I just went through. Lack of capital. You need to be aware that you lack capital. And people say, well, I'm on a shoestring. Well, you've just checked a box that says you've increased your odds of failing if you don't have adequate capital. And obviously that's the one that gets talked about the most, and it is a primary cause of failure, but it is not the one that should surprise you. None of these things should jump up and surprise you if, in fact, you put together a good plan. The first area that I think is so important, and I think we're under fire here in 2023, is cash flow. We have increased expenses. We talked about hidden inflation earlier on the program. Your expenses in every case, every business, are going up. It just depends how much and when. And you've got to manage that increase. You don't have to you don't want to knee jerk and say, well, the cost of electricity went up 15% last month, I've got to raise prices. That whipsawed kind of, I'll deal with it when I have to deal with it attitude, particularly in tougher economic times, it gets harder and harder to be successful when you take that approach. Whereas if you'd stop to plan a little bit, yes, your projections are probably a wreck here at mid-year because so many things, so many extremes keep happening. But there's a way forward if you do have your best guess, if you will. Some people like to call it a guess in your planning, in your cash flow planning particularly. You can always adjust it, but don't get caught flat-footed and have to react way after the fact. Acquiring customers is even more important today than it was a year or two or before the pandemic. You need to do things like the folks that were in the studio in Nautical Bowls and how they're out attending different events that the attendees, the participants, are people that are their target market, building partnerships with related businesses. They are working on getting their brand out there and making people aware of it. And they've got a hard nut to crack. There's no doubt about it, because they're introducing a completely different approach to eating. Not only is it healthy eating, but it's in a different form, like an ice cream or yogurt, and yet it is so good and makes so much sense, but it's going to take them some investing a lot of tireless effort along with money to make it happen. So be sure you don't stop trying to acquire new customers and doing the things that you need to do. It's expensive. One of the first things that gets cut when times get tough is marketing and advertising, which in my opinion is the single worst thing you can do when things get tough. When things get tough, it presents, in my mind, in my approach, an opportunity to find more success, to increase market share. And you don't have to be crazy about it. It all depends on what your goals are for your business. They will be different than my goals if I was in your business personally. So carefully consider your approach to customer acquisition and be sure you're doing the things that work for you in this area. Also, along that line, be sure you diversify your customer base. It's amazing to me that people still get too many eggs in one basket. They have one customer or a small group of customers that represent such a large part of their business. And when those customers suffer or even take their business elsewhere, it's a catastrophe. Yes, you can survive, but many people don't survive. So be sure that you spread out your customers, that you work at diversifying, whether you're a local business, statewide business, national business. You need to diversify your customer base. And that's something you work at a little bit each day. It's not a campaign one-off. You've got to work at it a little bit each day. Balancing your quality of your products and business growth. Don't lose track of quality. Most recently, I came across several articles, in fact, about how Ford Motor Company has lost track of its quality. And let me tell you, I own a Ford product that's less than 3 years old, and it has become a headache due to horrible quality of product, multiple breakdowns. And I've been a driver of Fords for 40, 50 years. I've been a regular purchaser of their vehicles. And now I'm having second thoughts about buying any more Ford products. So be careful. Make sure you maintain your quality. Don't try to grow the business so fast, obviously, that you do lose sight of the quality of what you're doing. One of the areas, and the final area I'm going to touch on today, is company culture, something that gets overlooked too many times. It's a critical component of running a successful business. Many small business people don't pay attention to it at all. They brush it off, say, as a corporate idea, big company idea, where they have people on staff that keep an eye on culture and make the plan and tell the corporate leadership what they need to do to build the culture. If you have your people on the same track, have people of the same mindset as far as the success of your company, it will help immensely. It will have such an impact, potentially extremely positive impact on the performance of your business. Our guests today, Ola and Bibi, they are already recruiting and developing employees that do these kinds of things, people that are like-minded in the culture of the business, what the business is all about. This just doesn't happen. You have to develop the mindset and push the buttons as the owner, as the manager of the business. You have to engage and hire people, train people that fit in with your culture of your business. A positive company culture thrives. If it's not, if it's disjointed and it's chaotic, your business performance suffers. Please consider these things. I think these challenges in 2023 all have their own little nuance. The pressures of economic recession, inflation, lots of confusion and chaos in the world in general. It's very important, in my opinion, that more important than normal, really, if you had an even growing economy, now is the time to really focus on issues such as these. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us today. I definitely want to thank Bibi and Ola Ajayi, the owners of Nautical Bowls, for coming in and sharing their business wisdom as a startup, and I think they offered some unique perspective in starting a business and taking the franchise route as well. Put a note on your calendar to join us again next week, right here on Monday, 11 o'clock, the weekly business hour. And again, look for a video podcast of today's show on the weekly business hour page at Facebook, YouTube, and also on the website here at the station at irlonestar.com. And until next week, I encourage you, stay engaged and always keep your focus on what counts in your business. Thanks.